Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. First off, let me apologize for how I sound. I am in the middle of a pretty bad head cold, and so I figured why not make a video while I sound terrible. But anyways, I wanted to bring a relatively short video to the table for those of you who might be interested in picking up the FT6 Pro skates. I did recently get a chance to get my hands on a pair and then try them on. And if you're not aware, I'm currently someone who's using these skates. So naturally, I figured that when these skates wear out and they do have a lot of life left in them, I might be sniffing around the FT6 Pros. They might be a good natural progression since I'm in retail skates now, despite having the Bauer holders on here. So I figured I'd take a look at them and give them a shot. So what I'll do in this video, because I don't personally believe that there's anybody out there that has good enough data on how they're actually performing and how comfortable they are, that's actually making any videos on them right now. So I will just say this from a updating and upgrading the boot standpoint. I think CCM did a good job. I think most of the upgrades that they did this year are an improvement probably for the average player over what they had last year. So, for example, taking a look at the tendon guard, I don't know if you've ever tried skates like the Ultrasonic out or the Mach that have those flexible tendon guards. They're actually, I find them to be a really positive, benefit with regard to getting a full stride. And obviously depends on what type of skater you are. But for me, I try to have as long of a stride as possible, and having those being flexible, I don't expect them to spring me back, but they do feel like I can get more of a range of motion with those springy tendon guards on there. So I think that's a nice improvement. I also think that the tongue is a nice improvement over the 4mm thick felt, or however millimeter felt thick tongue that I had on the FT4 Pros. These feel like they're definitely nicer, at least holding them in your hand. So for whatever that you can do with that. And the foams that they have in the skate, this is one of the two areas that may be something for you to think about, where I'm starting to feel some fit differences. But overall, right now, I think that most of the upgrades that they've done regarding the tendon guard, the foams, the foam at the top of the boot, they now have the asymmetrical quarter package on the inside of this boot, just like a Bauer Vapor Hyperlite and the Hyperlite 2, and some other older Vapors too. But that's a really good improvement. They have a wrap that goes over the top of the foot. They call it the Game Ready fit, which is like kind of a preheat molded thing. That is another area in addition to the foam that I'll touch on here. But and then they have an improvement on the dial on the holder, which I don't think anybody cares about. And then I didn't notice in very many other things. I guess maybe there's like a slightly different texture on the toe cap for whatever reason, but it's just an observation. And then the last thing would be the eyelets. They seem to have gone away from the just punching eyelets into the side of the composite material on the side of the boot. So, that there was a lot of significant upgrades to the boot, and I think most of them are. So let's kind of get into the two things that were a little bit of a red flag to me, and we'll go from there. Okay, here I am trying them on, and what I noticed first was that the not necessarily the toe box, but I think the Game Ready fit makes the skate feel tighter across the forefoot and the instep than the FT4 Pros. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'm just going to roll an image in here. So what you're looking at, and this is kind of a crummy screenshot here, but if you kind of look at the facing of the eyelets, you can see that they're pre-wrapped around the top of the foot. And when you heat mold the skates, that's just generally what all skates are going to do. But they are coming from the factory now with those, especially that The two eyelets that are closest to the toe cap, where the toe cap connects with the quarter package, those are now wrapped, pre-wrapped from the factory, and so I noticed that the width of my feet made the skates feel tighter in just the forefoot width. Now I have a admittedly super high volume wide foot, and you may not, which may be a good thing for you. Maybe if you couldn't fit in the FT4 Pros last time because they were too wide, maybe this is a good fit for you now. So this could be a pro to you. But I do bring it up because I noticed that almost immediately. I didn't notice it, and also I didn't bake the skates because I wasn't buying them that day. I was actually there helping one of my friends get some Hyperlite 2 skates, but it's just something that I noticed that if you have a wider foot and the FT4 Pros fit you, these may feel a little bit more snug in that forefoot area. So that's just what I wanted to say. The other thing that I noticed was the foam. So the foam appears to be an upgrade from what we had last year. So if you aren't aware, on the FT4 Pros, there's something called donut foam. If you just kind of picture like a pineapple slice or something like that underneath the lining, it kind of has a little pocket for your ankle bone to sit in there. And my understanding from a Canadian guy who told me about these working here, he basically said there's still donut foam in there, but it's a lot more plush. I got the impression that it was fairly similar to the Ribcore 100K Pro skates. To me, this didn't feel that amazing when I put my foot into it. And again, this is probably a me thing and not so much the general public, but I will bring this up because I did own a custom pair of Ribcore 80Ks, and one of the complaints that I had about that was that there was too much foam, and because of that, you actually couldn't ever get the skates tight enough where you needed them to be. So the SuperTax line has always had some of the best foam in it overall. But what I noticed is I had, and for myself, my inside ankle bones, the pointy parts of my ankle bone, are kind of set forward, and I have a tendency, and a lot of skates, if they don't have enough volume, is that my ankle bone will ride on the eyelets. And that's not a problem on the FT4 Pro. However, it does appear to be a problem in the FT6 Pros, and I think it's because the foam is different. So that in and of itself may be a deal breaker for me transitioning for the FT4 Pro. So think about it like this. If you're somebody who has a lot of heel depth that you need in your skates, like if you're an old Nexus skate person, something like that, and you needed volume, you may try the FT6 Pros before you buy them, or order them and return them or something like that, because you can still do that with CCM. But it is something that you should be aware of. In this little video clip, I'll show you where the pressure happens for me. So on the inside ankle bone, the pointy part there of my left skate, when I do pivots or backwards crossovers, that's where I'm going to feel that pressure on touching the eyelets, and it's not fun. I don't have it on my FT4 Pros, but might have it on the FT6s. If you don't have that problem, though, the foam is definitely an upgrade. I think you'll like it. So this is going to be just a if the boot fits, wear it kind of deal. So anyways, that's kind of the big hitters right now. What I will also toss in here is a comment about the weight of the skate. This is a significantly heavier boot than the FT4 Pros. I don't remember how much of a weight difference there was, but the weight was noticeable. But the skate also felt like super beefy and awesome too. So I was pretty impressed with it, and just knowing how long my FT4 Pros have lasted and how durable they are, I wouldn't have any hesitation about the durability on these. So, and I also noticed that on the Hyperlite 2 skates. And I did take a look at these while I was here because, as I mentioned earlier in the video, my buddy actually we went to the hockey shop in Canada to go pick up the the FT6 Pros for him. That's what he really wanted. They didn't fit him, and he was coming from the Hyperlite skates, and he tried on the Hyperlite 2 and loved them. So he ended up going with the Hyperlite 2 skates. Um, but he did swap the holder out and went back to an original Bauer Tuck Edge holder, which could be a story for another time. I'm going to let Justin do a full review on his skates because he actually has them and he's putting them through the ringer right now. But what I will mention about these, um, having owned Hyperlite skates myself, and I know this is a jet speed video, but I will say that the Hyperlites looks like they had a really nice amount of upgrades to the boot as well. A lot of welcome upgrades, but it is also a heavier boot than the Hyperlite, and I think that's a good thing. So it just something I throw out there because it reminded me that the jet speed was heavier than its predecessor. Okay, so after all of this, where am I personally with the FT6 Pros? So I'm not really in the market for skates quite yet, but being that I felt some fit differences between these and my FT4 Pros, it caused me to want to try on a pair of skates that I haven't tried on in a really long time and that are still available, and that would be the AS5 Pro Super Tax. So immediately when trying these on in the same size, and just for reference, I'm an 8 wide in CCM skates. So it just showed me how much of a fit difference there is between the Super Tax and the Jet Speed line of skates. So basically the FT4 Pro, FT6 Pro, AS5 Pro, those all fit kind of different. And so the Super Tax here are the largest fitting skates, so they have the highest volume. They even felt slightly longer, and so I don't really know what that meant. But when I tried these on, what I found out is an 8 wide might actually have too much volume everywhere for my foot, and an 8 regular it felt better on the forefoot and the instep height, but didn't quite have enough volume for the pointy part of my ankle bone, which is, I'm not going to deal with that anymore. And so I'm kind of like in a situation for myself where, um, I'm hoping that they refine whatever comes after the super tax to be a little bit tighter fitting. And I think that's the theme here too, so that you should be aware of regarding the jet speeds is that the jet speed is still the same fitting skate from a standpoint of like it's still the same type of skate, wider forefoot, kind of a wedge in the heel, tighter heel, but it does fit a little bit different than the FT4 Pros. And these super tacks are going to be more of high volume everywhere, anatomical fit, and they're just different. And so that makes me think that CCM is just trying to tweak different things, and I would bet that they're going to try doing the game ready fit thing on the next variant of the AS whatever super tax. So, but time will see, time will tell. So at this point for me, I'm going to stick to my good old fashioned trusty FT4 Pros until they wear out on me. But I feel like I can recommend you giving a look to the FT6 Pro because a lot of this was just my own fitting experience. But go if you get a pair, let me know. Comment on the video. Tell me what you think of them. If you're somebody who went from FT4 Pros to FT6 Pros, I'm sure people here would love to hear your feedback on it. Or even if you just have FT6 Pros now and see what your experience has been. But other than that, I definitely appreciate you guys bearing with my terrible voice right now, and feel free to ask questions or leave comments, whatever you want to do, per the usual. And then I will leave you with probably the best skate ever created by humans in this world or the next. Yeah, I know, I'm stupid. Peace out.